okay, so that for those who are coming, you just go with the flow. All right, okay. So I'm going to introduce myself, and of course, I'm going to introduce your teacher after this. Okay. All right, but before that, please stay muted. Okay. Okay, I will share screen first. And of course, you guys have to have your notes ready, okay, with you. Stay away from your phones. Okay, stay away from your phones. And yeah, be prepared. Okay, so let's see, I can still hear people at the back. Okay, so let's see if they are not muted. So let's see, let me mute them first. Okay. All right, so let's begin. Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning, everyone. Okay, I wish you guys the best of luck. For today's session, it's going to be very much fruitful. And you are going to learn SPM English paper, 1119, paper 2, sorry, paper 2, part 2, yes, okay. All right, so your teacher today will be Miss Aimee. She's graduated from the University of Auckland with me in Bachelor of Education, teaching English to speakers of other languages. And also she got her master degree in Master of Linguistic and English Language Studies, all right, and from USM. So we are going to start our session today. And of course, okay, we have our doa reciter. Okay, I would like to call upon the name pembaca doa Muhammad Irfan bin Ahmad. Okay, can you please recite doa so that I can continue further? Okay, over to you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma aftah alayna hikmataka wanshur alayna min khazain rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alam nashrah laka sadrak wa wada'na 'anka wizrak alladhi anqadha dhahrak wa rafa'na laka dhikrak. Fa inna ma'al usri yusra, inna ma'al usri yusra. Fa idza faragta fansab wa ila rabbika farghab. Amin ya rabbal alamin.
All right, okay, wait, Muhammad Irfan. Okay, thank you very, very much. Okay, Amin. All right, thank you. And there are still people coming in. I would just do the tee up session. Basically, I would introduce you guys to what Englishpedia is for those who don't know. Okay, so don't forget to mute yourself. Okay, I think it's supposed to be automatically muted. But then I think there will be situations whereby your computer started with unmute, so I have to also unmute you. Okay. For this session, right? I will be saying it is going to be interactive. Listen to your teacher. If your teacher said that you can use your microphone, use your microphone. If you have to answer the questions using the chat box, use the chat box. Okay, but be attentive. Have your notes ready. I believe that this session is going to be very much useful for you, especially when you want to differentiate. What's the difference between question writing part 2 and part 3, especially. Okay, especially the one this one. Okay, the one that has bullet points here. Part 2 writing. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next slide. I just want to show you. By the way, for those who don't know me, I'm the founder of Englishpedia Malaysia. So this is who we are. Okay, I'm actually a teacher. I also have a bachelor degree in education in TESOL from University of Auckland, New Zealand, and master's in education, TESOL from UiTM Shah Alam. And I was, past 10, I was a teacher at MRSM Kuala Berang. And then I moved to College Professional Maharaja Mahkota, and my last school was actually Asia Pacific International School, whereby I teach IGCSE second language. Okay, but then now I am yeah, I want to continue my studies to the next level. Please pray for me to, I hope that I can do my PhD next year. And yes, I'm also am the author of 12 dances in English. Okay, and this is just a brief overview about us, and just want to show you guys. Yeah, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and also TikTok. Okay, so whereby we also have videos. Okay, if you want to learn more about English, we have free videos from our teachers as well. Okay, so I think that's it. Okay, about us. All right. Hopefully you guys are going to have a good time. And just so you know, okay, in this session, we are going to have a few quizzes, and there are a lot of prizes to be won. Okay, all right. Stay tuned, listen attentively, and who knows, somebody is going to get a chance to win one of our books. Okay, this one, 12 Dances in English. I'm going to give it to you for free. So stay tuned, guys. Okay, so over to you, Miss Aimee.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Asia. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the class. Can you hear me good? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. If the audio is sounding great. Can you give any sort of reaction, maybe a smiley face or a thumbs up? Can everyone hear me? Tas. Sultan Azlansha, do you guys have like a name where you call you guys, like some MRSM students like Kuala Berang, they call themselves Cuber. Balik Pulau, I'm from MRSM Balik Pulau, by the way. So the students like to refer to themselves as the Lake Laos. So what about SAS? Is it just SAS or do you have any other special names? Let's see. You can type in the chat box, people. Don't be shy. Can. Khalil, you can hear me? Good. So what do you guys call yourselves? Just SAS. Okay, thank you, Irfan. By the way, Irfan, you've got a really soothing voice. So thank you for reciting the dua. All right, everyone. So inshallah, I'm going to start. Assalamualaikum again and a very good morning. So I will be sharing my screen. Okay. Miss Asia, I think you need to stop sharing. Okay. All right, I'll share my screen now, yeah. Right. Okay. So this is what we'll be looking at today. All right. Okay, good. Everyone can see the screen? Okay, so here we are going to be focusing on part 2. Specifically, we call it the guided writing or guided essay. The part 2 of SPM English writing. So basically, I'll be going through with all of you, inshallah, the step-by-step guide on how you can answer guided essay. Okay, and if you have any questions, do not worry. Just feel free to type in the chat box. I will be addressing your questions as we go along. You don't have to wait till the end of the session. If let's say there's something that's really bothering your mind as we go through the session, just type in the chat box, okay? And I'll get to them, inshallah. Okay, so a little bit about myself. My name is Aimee Shahira binti Saleh. You can call me Miss Aimee. I'm currently teaching. I'm an English teacher in MRSM Balik Pulau Pinang. I'm also a TOEFL Young Student Series Master Trainer. So if you have been involved in any kind of TOEFL programs or competitions, so basically I'm one of the trainers in Malaysia, alhamdulillah. I enjoy traveling, I enjoy photography, I enjoy cats, of course. Occasionally, I enjoy listening to Taylor Swift. Do I have any Swifties in the room today? Any Taylor Swift fans? You can type in the chat box or you can use your reaction. Anyone love Taylor Swift or you're just over Taylor Swift? Yo, Alia, yay, Alia, hello gang. So we've got one Swiftie over here. Anyone else love listening to Taylor Swift? No, only Alia. Okay, Alia, what to do is just as, oh, Sophia too. Thank you, Sophia. So we got a girl gang over here. Right. Okay. So besides Taylor Swift, like I said, I enjoy her occasionally, not all the time. There are times that I find, okay, too much of Taylor Swift now. I need to move on. Okay. I'm also an ambivert. So this term here has been circling around the internet for a while now because they need to find a distinction between people who are an introvert and people who are an extrovert. So those who are in between, not so outspoken, not too shy. So we call these people an ambivert. Okay. So if you haven't heard this term yet, this is your first time. This is one new word for you today. Ambivert. I'm an ambivert, meaning I'm not too outspoken and I'm not too shy. I'm just the in between. I think a lot of people can relate to that. We are the in betweens, right? Okay, so that's about me. Oh, big fan of Taylor Swift. Thank you, Zoom user. Good to know. All right, so let's move on. Okay, what are our lesson objectives for today? We are going to look at briefly the CEFR marking criteria for part 2. Why do you need to know how you are assessed? Because you would know what are the expectation, what would the examiners expect from you. So that's why it's important for us to understand and know what you are marked on, what you are assessed on. Okay, so we'll look briefly at this CEFR marking. And I will be teaching you an acronym called PEER, PEER, how we are going to expand our content and our ideas for part 2 using this acronym. Okay, so this is the most important bit. And then we are going to learn very quickly how to write introduction and conclusion. Okay, finally, we are going to look at some sentence connectors that are useful in part 2. Not only part 2 actually, for part 1, part 2, and part 3 in the SPM English writing, because sentence connectors would be one of the criteria that examiners look for when they are marking your essay. So 4 objectives, simple objectives. Are you okay so far? So can I see a thumbs up if you're okay with this lesson objectives? Just type in the chat box a thumbs up, or okay, thank you, Sumia. A thumbs up or a smiley face, anything. For lesson objectives, hopefully we'll be able to go through them. And as I've mentioned, I'm going to just emphasize again, any questions, type in the chat box, okay? And once in a while, I've been told by your teacher to call your name. So just to make sure that you are focusing, you are on task, which I'm sure you are, okay? Right, so let's continue. Now, okay, here where I need all of you to type in the chat box. What's your main concern when it comes to part 2 guided writing? Okay, it can be about grammar, it can be about time, anything. I just want to know, I would love to know what are your personal concerns when it comes to part 2. Can everyone just type in the chat box so that I can address them, and maybe we can go through them and they would not be your fear anymore, hopefully. Time, word limit, content. Okay, we've got different ones. Good. Content. Ah, okay. Good. Content, word limit. Word limit, actually, you don't have to worry so much. We'll talk about that. Good one, Zoom user. Able to follow what the question actually wants. Yes, that's very good. Okay, good. On point. We'll talk about that. Any more? I see content. I see word limit. I see being able to follow what the question wants. What else? I think basically that, yeah. So I'm going to remember that 3 main concerns for SAS students: the word limit, time, very good. These are all really good concerns, okay? And if you're able to follow what the question wants. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. So let's have a look. First things first, by looking at the CEFR marking criteria, you will be able to see some of your main concerns being addressed. All right, so here we go. What are we actually testing you on for part 2? So just a brief overview, yeah, everybody. Your SPM writing paper, you have 3 essays, correct? 3 essays. Part 1, you've got the email. I would say email is the simplest and the easiest to score. It's really possible to get 20 over 20. Why? Because you are marked based on A2 CEFR level. A2 meaning they are not too strict or they are not too rigid when they mark email. Okay, but today specifically we'll be looking at guided writing essay. So what's a guided essay? Number one is a longer text. Okay, you have to write in 125 to 150 words. Some of you mentioned that your concern is word limit. So as long as you can write in 125 minimum, and you can, if you want to write more, there's no problem. Some of you are worried that what if I write more than 150 words? Not a problem at all. It's just that you need to be careful not to go overboard, not to be too meleret. Why? Because you have this one, the toughest part of SPM English writing. You have number 3. This one you need to be writing in 200 to 250 words. So if you spend so long on part 2, you might miss out on part 3. Okay, so those of you whose concern was word limit, remember, as long as you can write in 125 words, that's the minimum. You can write in 125 words, you are good to go. If you write more than 150 words, not a problem. Just don't go overboard, okay? So guided writing, okay, what does it mean here? You are marked based on the B1 CEFR level, meaning it's slightly strict when the examiner is marking your part 2. Because you know kan, for English, part 1, part 2, part 3, each of this part weighs 20 marks, meaning email 20 marks, part 2 20 marks, part 3 20 marks. But how are they different? How they are marked, okay? This one, the most lenient. This one is moderate, and this is rigid in terms of marking. Okay, now let's look at the 4 criteria, the assessment criteria. How do you get that 20 marks? So for content, a lot of you are concerned with content, right? Okay, we'll talk about that. Content, when you use the PEER acronym to write your content, you will inshallah be able to get 5 out of 5 marks. So we have content 5, we have communicative achievement 5 marks, we have organization 5 marks, then we have language 5 marks. So C plus CA plus O plus L, each of these is equivalent to 5 marks, a total of 20 marks. Okay, C plus CA plus O plus L. This is your assessment criteria. Okay, so far, people, any questions so far? We're going to look at the breakdown. Wait, yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm going to give you, I think it's best if I give you about a minute to go through this assessment scale. So in case you're wondering what this is what the examiners, this is what we, the teachers, are given. Okay, this is the assessment scale. So based on all these criteria, we will assess. Does this candidate deserve a 5 for content? Can she get a 5 for CA? What about L? So these are the assessment criteria. What I have done here, I have made it simple for you students to understand what exactly are we looking for when we are marking your essay. Okay, I'm going to give you about a few seconds to read, all right? And anything you don't understand, just type in the chat box. Okay. All right. So let's go through, yeah? So content, C, what are we actually looking for when we say all content is relevant to the task and the target reader is fully informed? Here, okay, so content meaning you answer all the tasks. Because you remember, for part 2, there are bullet points. If you have addressed all the bullet points, meaning you have answered all the tasks, and you talk about the topic appropriately, so meaning all parts have been answered. Okay, and number 2, purpose is clear. What does it mean by your purpose is clear? Meaning, if the essay is about environment day, or doing an activity to save the environment. So you state the purpose in your introduction. It's going to be about saving the environment through recycling or whatnot. Okay, all right. Now, let's look at CA. What is CA? Okay, now CA, wait, yeah. I'm going to move this for a bit. CA. CA uses the convention. What is the meaning of convention here? Uses the convention of the writing task, and your ideas are straightforward and also appropriate. So CA here means your ideas are straightforward with appropriate elaboration. Okay, you can have straightforward ideas. They don't have to be complicated. All right. So remember that part 2, as long as your ideas are straightforward, you're okay. But you must have appropriate elaboration. That's what's important. And number 2, so convention here is very important. What does it mean by to use the right convention? Okay, convention means you use appropriate style, you have appropriate tone of language. For part 2, it's semi-formal. So your writing should reflect that. It cannot be like email, because email is very friendly. It's very informal. You can use contraction like I'm, don't, your, the contraction, but not for part 2. Part 2, it's semi-formal. It's not as serious as a report or an article, but it has to be somewhat still formal. Okay. All right. What about organization? Okay. This is where we look at the PEER. Okay. Are you writing your paragraphs in unison? Are all your paragraphs well connected? So how are they going to be connected? If you have PEER, you are writing in 4 to 5 paragraphs, meaning your paragraphs are well connected. Okay. And then this is very important. Cohesive devices. You have sentence connectors, you have linking words, at least 2 to 3 sentence connectors in one paragraph. Okay, so we're going to have to look at that. Before that, can I just have some of you type in the chat box? What are your frequently used sentence connectors for part 2? What are some of the sentence connectors that you usually use when you are writing for part 2? Because this is very important. For organization, we carefully look at how many sentence connectors you've put in your essay. Because if you see here, in the marking scheme, it says use a variety of cohesive devices. Cohesive devices, sentence connectors, linking words, they are under the same umbrella. Okay? So what are your favorite or your most frequently used sentence connectors in English? Can you type in the chat box, people? Or should I call names? What are some of your favorite sentence connectors in English? Let me look at the name list, yeah. Is Hazim. Okay, my eye somehow fixated on Is Hazim. Is there an Is Hazim here? Okay, Faris, you use plus. Thank you, Faris. Is, are you around? Is?
Yes.
Okay, Is. What's your favorite sentence connector? Hello, Is? Is, are you here? Can you share with me what's your favorite sentence connector? So your friends here have said despite, in spite of, plus, therefore. What about you, Is Hazim?
Therefore.
Therefore, okay, thank you, Is. I see a few of you mentioned therefore as well here. Okay, very good. Plus, so these are the kind of sentence connectors you want to use, but we want to add a variety because the mark scheme mentioned that you need to have a variety of cohesive devices. So if you have used therefore in the first paragraph, you don't want to be repeating therefore over and over again. Okay. Right, let's go to L now. L is language. So appropriate choice of words, as I've mentioned, because we are writing in semi-formal kind of format. So you don't want to sound too friendly. You want to use the choice of words that are appropriate for this kind of writing. And you have a variety of sentences, meaning not all your sentences are just simple sentences. You need to have complex sentences, compound sentences, means a variety, okay? And you can have errors. Look here. We don't expect perfection. Okay, you can have errors, but what is important is your errors do not impede communication, meaning you have some slips here and there, but we can still understand what you are trying to say. It does not confuse the examiner. Okay, so this on the left here is how the examiner will assess you. On the right, these are guidelines for you to make sure that when you are writing your part 2, you have put a tick beside every point here, every important numeral, Roman numeral points here. Okay, so this is for you on the right, for you to always revise and check yourself when you are doing writing. Okay, so that's it for CEFR. Okay, so here's a question here. Can you use in a nutshell for part 2? Here's the thing about in a nutshell, yeah. It's not wrong, but it is not favored. Meaning it's not something that not to say not should be used. It's better if you choose a different sentence connector, like in conclusion, to sum up, last but not least, finally, to summarize. So in a nutshell, somehow it suggests something about the use of in a nutshell, because sometimes it can sound a bit informal and sometimes it can sound it's not favored. That's what I would say. So it's best if you choose a different sentence connector for ending. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you for that question, Miss Mas. All right, we're going to move on now to our next slide. We've looked at the CEFR, yeah? So you know you are assessed based on C, CA, O, and L. Each of them is worth 5 marks. And on the right here would be the guidelines for you, the students, how you check yourself when you are writing. Okay, now let's move on. Okay, all right. So we've come into the acronym PEER. What is PEER and how are we going to use PEER to plan our essay? Okay, so here, let's look at this question, yeah? Is this question familiar to you guys? Have you seen this question before? Everyone? Yes, okay. Yes, this is like a loud yes, yeah? How did you do for your SPM RSM? Especially for part 2, did you do well? Were you happy with your marks for part 2? This, I think all of you took the SPM RSM, right? So this is our SPM RSM question. And I'm sure you just got your result. So are you happy with your result? Do you think you did well for part 2? Alhamdulillah, you did well. Okay, good to know. What about the rest of you? Are you happy with your marks for part 2? Or you think there's a lot of room for improvement? Okay. All right. So some of you said yes, direct message me. So I'm not going to mention name. Okay, Shazwan is decent. Good to know. Decent is good, right? Okay. But decent, there's room for improvement. When you said it's decent, meaning you can still improve. Lots to improve. Okay, no problem at all. That's why we are here. What's that? Iman, what did you say? Could do better. Yes, Danny. Okay, good, good. But this question is quite difficult. Okay, let's look at the question together. All right. I'm going to read for you. So the question says, your class has been discussing the ways to keep your school clean and your teacher has asked you to write an essay about it. So the point here, ways to keep the school clean. In your essay, you should write about an activity you could do. So even though they mention here ways, plural, but in the bullet point, they only want to know one activity, okay? So an activity you could do, why we must keep our school clean, and how to encourage others to keep the school clean, okay? So here's the thing. When they have asked for one activity, you should provide only one activity, because if you have provided 2 or more, the content, you will get less mark for content. So instead of 5, you might be getting 3. And here's another catch, yeah? So what's the catch? They've asked for an activity. But what happens if you say clean the classroom? Is that acceptable? If I say the activity is cleaning the classroom, can that be accepted? What do you think, people? If I mentioned clean the classroom, you might get marked. You're not going to get 0 if you mention clean the classroom, but it's an activity that is already something that has been done already. I'm sure every school in this world, they clean their classroom. So it's something that has been done. You can get marks, but it's not high on the impression scale. So lower mark, not necessarily 5 for C and CA, you can still get marked, but because the idea of this activity is not original or is not innovative, because it's something that has been done. Okay, you might want to suggest something like a school cleanup every week. Okay, that is something new. Okay, so every week, once in a week, you would have the whole school cleaning up the school. And you can set it to happen annually, meaning every month in a year that must happen. So you can explain about how you're going to do that. Okay, it's something also simple because school cleanup, you say every Sunday also we clean our asrama, so what's the big deal, right? But this one is something that you're making it official and something new by organizing a school cleanup every month. So it's something that is, although it's not very innovative, but it's not so cliche, meaning clean the classroom, clean the asrama, that's what we do every day. Okay, but clean the school every month or every week is not something that every school does. Not every school has a weekly cleanup. All right, so that's the difference. And then why we must keep our school clean? So this one, it did not mention whether you should give 1 or 2 reasons, so that's up to you. You can give 2 reasons, no problem, 3 reasons, no problem. How to encourage others? Again, there's no limitation because they did not mention one way to encourage others. You can give 1 or 2 or 3, up to you. But what's important is this part, because they've asked for only 1 activity. A lot of our students did the same mistake as well, because only 1 activity, when you've provided more than 1, your content and CA would be lower, not 5. Content is actually the easiest to score. For you to get 5 marks, it's really easy for content, but you have to make sure that you really understood and answered the question well. Okay, so we're going to look briefly only at SPM MRSM. Don't worry, we want to move on. Don't want to talk about SPM MRSM anymore. Okay, just briefly talking about what could have gotten wrong in your previous SPM MRSM, and we want to learn from our mistakes. Okay, all right, so any questions so far about SPM MRSM? Event, what do you mean event, Faris? You can mention an event. So for example, if you say an activity that I would like to have in my school is have an environment day in a year. So that's an event, right? So you can suggest event as well, but it can be simple. Like I've mentioned, it can be simple, but not cliche, not something that has been done every day. So you have like a cleanliness event a month, or a cleanliness event per semester, that's also okay. As long as it sounds new, it's something that's not done every day already. Okay, so that's the difference and activity. All right, so now let's move on to our next slide. Okay, good, yeah. So keep asking questions as we move along. Don't wait until the end of the session. Okay, so I hope you have your notes with you, because I have forwarded the notes to your, I think you might have the notes already from your teacher, kan? But if you haven't, that's okay. I hope you have your notebooks with you for you to copy or to write down any important bits as we go along. Right, so here, let's look at what are PEER. Okay, before that, I need to just bear with me a second. I need to undo this. Okay. All right. So overall, yeah, an overview. This is how you answer your part 2. You should have at least 4 to 5 paragraphs. Okay, 4 is good. If you feel like you cannot expand in 5 paragraphs would be too much for me, you start with 4, that's no problem at all. Okay. So usually you would be writing in 4 to 5 paragraph. And then what you do is you have paragraph 1 is your introduction. Paragraph 2 would be your PEER 1. Paragraph 3 would be your PEER 2. And paragraph 4 would be your PEER 3. What are these PEER? We're going to have a look in the next slide, okay? Basically, PEER acronym we use to draft our content, our bullet points. Remember, there are 3 bullet points in the question, kan? Yes, those bullet points, we use PEER to cater to them. Okay, so if you are writing in 5 paragraphs, this is how your essay should look like with 5 paragraphs, intro, 3 PEER, and conclusion. But if you are writing in 4 paragraphs, you have intro, you have 2 PEER. How are you going to do that? We'll have a look later, and your conclusion. All right. Okay. So guided essay at a glimpse. You use present tense most of the time for guided essay because usually they're asking for suggestions. Most of the time you would be using present tense, but if you are writing something in the past, you are required to use past tense. But most of the times, I think for part 2, you would be required to give suggestions. So present tense. It's written in 4 to 5 paragraphs. A number of words, 125 to 150. You can write more, but don't go overboard. So the full marks is 20, as we've talked about. C, CA, O, and L. All right. You must have a variety of sentence connectors. And then you are given 30 minutes only to write part 2. So imagine, yeah, 1 hour and 30 minutes for English writing, 15 minutes for email, 30 minutes for part 2, 45 minutes for part 3. So whatever you do, you must complete your part 2 writing in 30 minutes only. The drafting, the writing, the checking, everything in 30 minutes. Okay? And the language style is semi-formal. Semi-formal meaning, when I say semi-formal, just imagine it to be formal. Okay? You cannot have short form. You cannot have contractions. You cannot have slang. Slang is forbidden, yeah, even for email. Wanna, gonna, gotcha, all those things, they are forbidden in English writing. Okay, so this is guided essay at a glimpse. So those of you who were concerned with time, now you know that you have only 30 minutes to write and complete everything for part 2. Okay, so this is Pierre. I think I want someone to read for me lah. Let me choose someone. Wait, yeah. Can I have Fasiha, Nur Fasiha to read for me? Nur Fasiha binti Zan Halizi. Are you here, Fasiha? Fasiha, are you around? Fasiha 1, Fasiha 2, Fasiha. Okay, Khalil Mubin. Wow, all your names. You are like celebrities in the making, eh? Khalil Mubin, are you here, Khalil? Khalil 1. I saw Khalil's name just now. Khalil not here. Khalil sleeping, is it? Okay, can I get Farina Ardini? Are you here, Farina? Can you read for us? What's here? What
Yes,
does...
teacher.
Okay, thank you, Farina. Could you read for us what each alphabet stands for?
So
Starting with point. Farina, you're on mute, yeah, dear.
hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. So we have PEERS. First, we have the P stand point, topic sentence, the first sentence of every body paragraph.
Okay, thank you. What about E?
And then we have E, which is elaboration, which is the further explain points using this is because, or this is due to, or as we know.
Okay.
And then next we have example, which is provide examples for readers to understand better.
Okay.
And then we have restate, which is a sentence. Paraphrase topic sentence to remind readers what's the paragraph about.
Okay, and then?
And then the last one, we have the letter S, which is
Mhm.
sentence connectors, 2 or 3 for every paragraph.
Okay, thank you so much, Farina. You've been really helpful. Okay, so that's what peer stand for. Okay, I want to emphasize again, we use peer only to elaborate the bullet points. Remember the 3 bullet points? Meaning you will be using peer in body paragraphs, the content of body paragraphs. We don't use that in introduction. We don't use that in conclusion. We use them when we want to elaborate the content. Okay, content meaning the 3 bullet points lah. So when do you use peer ni? Peer is used when you are planning or drafting. Okay, so when you plan, you use bullet point, you write what's your point, what's your elaboration, what's your example. And then when you transform this drafted peer into your essay, you can see the flow as you read through. The examiner can see your point. The examiner can see that you've got elaboration, you've got example, and they can see that you have restate your topic sentence. So they know what you're going to talk about. And they can find enough sentence connectors for you to be able to get high score. Okay, so that's a peer. Right now, let's move on. Okay, now step-by-step guide on how you answer your guided essay part 2. This is actually the step-by-step for every question. Okay, first of all, of course, you have to read the question carefully and underline the key terms. So underline what's the topic, underline the bullet points. What do you need to talk about? Is it one activity? Is it many activities? That's very important. Okay, so once you have read, underline the keywords and then jot down ideas or related words and phrases. So let's say during SPM, you open your booklet and you see that, oh, it's going to be about environment. So once you are allowed to write, quickly just brainstorm and write at the side. Tulis kat tepi tu. All the vocabulary and the words that are related to environment. Just like muntahkan, you write all the phrases, okay? And then number 3, once you have written down all the phrases or the idioms, whatever you want about environment, let's say the topic is about environment, then you start drafting your essay. Use the PEER. Okay, you must draft, people. A lot of students, they lose mark because they jump into writing straight away without planning, without drafting. So they read the question, they saw that it's about environment, so they're very confident. Straight away, they go and write a proper essay. No plan, no draft. So that's actually a suicide mission, to be honest, because if you do not draft, if you do not plan, you are going to waste time, and then you're going to have problem with time. You're going to have problem with word limit. You're going to have problem with content. Because if you do not draft carefully, there is a possibility that you may mislead the question, meaning you have not answered the question correctly. Okay, so that's why number 3 is very important. I want to tell you to spend 5 minutes minimum to draft, 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so if you've used about 10 minutes for drafting, you have 20 minutes left. Okay, so 10 minutes for drafting, 20 minutes only for writing. Then tak sempat nak check pula. So what's best is 5 minutes for drafting, 20 minutes for writing, another 5 minutes to check. You can get a lot in 5 minutes just by spending to draft. Okay. And then write your essay in 4 to 5 paragraphs. Up to you. If you're comfortable in 4, write in 4 paragraphs. You're comfortable in 5, write in 5 paragraphs. I wouldn't recommend to go beyond 5, yeah, because this is only 125 words. So between 4 to 5 paragraphs, that's good. All right. And important, spend at least 5 minutes to check your essay. 5 minutes at the end. So that's why it's best spend 5 minutes for planning or drafting, 20 minutes for writing, 5 minutes for checking. Some of you may say that I am a speed writer. I can write really fast. Okay, good. So you want to spend more time on planning, 10 minutes. But make sure that your handwriting is comprehensible. A lot of you when you write, we cannot understand what you're trying to say, and that can affect your language marks, and we do not want that. Okay, so this is the step-by-step guide when you are writing part 2 essay. Faris, Daniel, you want to write in 3 paragraphs. Okay, you can, I would advise usually 4, but they don't usually penalize based on the number of paragraphs, Faris. But ideally writing in 4 paragraphs would be best. But if you want to write in 3 paragraphs, can you imagine your intro is going to be short and your content is going to be really long because you are going to smack all the 3 bullet points into only 1 paragraph, right? If you're only writing 3. So you have intro, content, all 3 bullet points in only 1 paragraph, and a conclusion. So it's best if you have at least 4. Okay, where you have 3 bullet points, you can combine 2 bullet points in 1 paragraph, another bullet point expand in another paragraph, and you have the conclusion. So even though they do not say that you must write in 4 paragraphs, I think ideally it's better and it looks more organized when you have at least 4 paragraphs. Okay, thank you for the question, Faris. All right, so now we're going to move on. You've learned the step by step. Now let's go next. Okay, so this is where, like Miss Asia has mentioned, we have quiz today. I've got 2 quizzes for you, and you will be winning amazing books at the end of this session if you are able to ace whatever exercises that I'm going to give you. So this is part 2. We're going to try out the first exercise. Now, I'm going to give you a few seconds to read on your own. Then I'm going to call someone to assist me in reading. But take a few seconds to read on your own first and understand what the question wants. If you're using your tab, you can actually highlight the important keywords here. Okay, can I call someone to help and read for me the question? Read for us. Who would like to volunteer? Do we have volunteers? Okay, can I call the BWP President? Who's the BWP President for SAS? Do we have the BWP President here?
Ada teacher.
Ah, okay, good. Amirul there. Okay, Amirul, can you read for us? Press.
Question 2.
Hmm.
You have been talking about doing volunteer work in class. Your teacher has asked you to write an essay about an activity that you would like to volunteer in during the class holiday. In your essay, you should write about the activity you will take up, reason for your choice, where can you usually do the volunteer activities. Write your essay using all the notes.
Okay, thank you, President Amirul. Right, so now I'm going to ask do we have the academic exco? Exco academic ada tak sini? The BWP academic exco. We call it academic exco ke? Do we have the exco academic here with us? Who's the BWP bahagian academic or exco academic? Ada tak? Wait. Tak ada. Okay, then we'll ask the... ada ke tak ada? Then I'll ask the Vice President lah. VWP Vice President, are you here?
Yes, teacher.
Hi, Alia. Alia, can you let us know what are the keywords? What are the important parts? Sekejap. From this question, I'm going to highlight or underline. You're going to tell me which part should I highlight? What are the important keywords here?
An activity that you would like to volunteer.
Okay, good. An activity that you would like to volunteer in. So the keyword here is volunteer. What else?
During the school holiday.
During school holiday, okay. And then?
The activity you would take up.
Okay, how many activities should I be talking about, Alia?
One.
Only one, very good. Because it says an activity and the activity. So only one activity here. Okay, and then Alia, next one. What's the important part?
reasons for your choice.
Good. Reasons for your choice. So how many reasons should I be giving, Alia?
At least 2 reasons.
At least 2 reasons. Very good, Alia. Okay, at least 2 reasons. And then what's the next important part?
Where can you usually do the voluntary activities?
Where? So this one is asking about a
Place.
place. Very good. Okay, thank you so much, Alia.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to write here place. Okay, so this is what you should be doing, people, when you get your SPM booklet and as you open looking at part 2, this is how your paper should look like. Okay, you should highlight the important keywords, and then you can write the numbers here so that you don't confuse yourself as you are drafting and writing. So only one activity, give at least 2 reasons, and give 1 place at least. They didn't specify 1 place or 2 places, but I think 1 would be enough. Okay, and again, I want to, this is very important, people. You must know that all the questions that they are going to ask you in SPM is going to be based on the topics and the themes and the units that we have covered in the textbook. So this is from Unit 12, Happy to Help, on the topic volunteering. So it can be anything under the sun, but they're going to go by the themes and the topics given in the syllabus, because they are not going to be cruel to you. They're not going to ask something that you've not seen before. Okay. All right. So this is what you do when you highlight the keywords. You look at the question, you read, and you highlight the keyword. Okay. Now let's go to the next part. Okay. So this is not the quiz yet because this is very easy. I have done the first PEER for you. So here, the first bullet point is about an activity you would take up. Okay, so how have I planned that or drafted that? I've used tables so that it's easy for you to see. But when you are drafting on your piece of paper, you do not have to draw a table. You can just write point form. P sama dengan apa? E should be what? All, everything in point form. So this table is for you, is to assist you in reading. Okay, first bullet point, the activity you would take up. So my P here, my point, I want to talk about volunteering at an old folks home. So remember I said you should have at least 2 sentence connectors in every paragraph. Here, I have listed at least 4 sentence connectors. Okay, so now, who can tell me what is the best sentence connector to come in the point here? So my point is, sentence connector, the activity that I would take up is volunteering at an old folks home. So what would be the best sentence connector? You can look here for, these are some sentence connectors, language bank that can assist you. So what would be a suitable sentence connector for the point here? Firstly, very good, Farina. So you can say, firstly, the activity that I would take up is volunteering at an old folks home. So this is my point. What about my E, elaboration here? Sentence connector number 2, many old folks homes are understaffed and I could lend a helping hand to help provide care for the residents. So this is my elaboration. What's the most suitable sentence connector here? Anybody would like to try? What's the best sentence connector? Let's see what you've got. This is due to. Very good. On top of that, pon boleh. Yes, Danny, good. So, Kavines, this is due to. Very good. Let's just go back a few slides before. If you see here, I did mention just now, our friend Farina read for us. For elaboration, we can use these 3 sentence connectors. You are not limited to these 3, but you can use these 3. Okay, this is because this is due to, like Kavinesh mentioned, as we know. So these are helpful sentence connectors which you can use in your elaboration. Okay. All right, so we want to use, this is because many old folks homes are understaffed and I could lend a helping hand to help provide care for the residents. Okay, so I've given my point. I want to volunteer at an old folks home. This is my activity. My elaboration, actually, I've given the reason, the first reason. Why? Because old folks home are understaffed and you want to help. Okay, then I give example pula. So what's the best sentence connector here for giving examples? This one is very easy. What is the best sentence connector to use here? Let's see. For example, yes, Aina, very good. You can say, for example, you can say, for instance. You can also say, as we know, no problem. But the most common one, you can say, for example, for instance. Yes, very good. Yeah. So here I will say, for example, I could help to keep the elderly meaning the old folks, the old people. I could keep the elderly company by playing board games or sharing stories with them. Okay, so here you've given elaboration why you want to volunteer at an old folks home. Here you give example pula what you can do when you volunteer. Okay, you can keep them company, you can teman them. What do you do when you teman them? You play board games, you play Uno ke, Monopoly ke, or sharing stories with them. And then R, a lot of my students are confused with R. They would be asking me, do we really need to put R? Is it necessary to have R? It's not necessary, but it makes your paragraph better. So what is actually R? R, okay, I want to draw, annotate here. R and P, they are actually related, okay? R and P. Why? Because R is when you restate or you sebut semula. I think in BM you have a term for this. I don't remember what's the name for BM. Penegasan, yes. R is like ayat penegasan, what your whole paragraph is about. That's why R and P, they are related. So basically in R, you tegaskan semula what is your paragraph about, what is your point about. So here you talk about volunteering at old folks home. In your R, you mention, therefore, I believe that volunteering at an old folks home is one of the charitable acts that teenagers like me could do or could carry out. So you are re-emphasizing that this paragraph is talking about volunteering at an old folks home. But you tak tirulah ayat P ni sebiji-sebiji. You restate or you paraphrase. Ayat penegasan. R is your ayat penegasan. Okay, so this is for the first bullet point. This first bullet point about the activity that you would take up, I've spent one paragraph writing this first bullet point, and I have used my PEER to help me elaborate my ideas. Okay, how would this look like in a paragraph? Let me show you. This is how it would look like. Okay, so can you see? This is how it would look like in a paragraph. All right. This is my first body paragraph, meaning atas tu ada conclusion. This is the second paragraph lah, but first body paragraph. Okay. So firstly, an activity I would take up is volunteering at an old folks home. This is because many old folks homes are understaffed, tak cukup staff, and I could lend a helping hand to help provide care for the residents. For example, I could help to keep the elderly company by playing board games or sharing stories with them. Undoubtedly means tanpa ragu-ragu or tidak boleh dinafikan lagi, okay? Undoubtedly, volunteering at an old folks home is one of the doable voluntary work that teenagers like me could try out. Okay, so if you want to get a high mark or a high score, this is how you write. This is how you elaborate. Okay, in one body paragraph alone, see, you've gotten 4 sentence connectors. Okay, but don't worry if you feel like, okay, this is too advanced, I don't think I can write this much. I'm going to show you another alternative where you can combine point number 1 and point number 2 into one paragraph. But for now, let's just look at this as a reference on how you can get a high score, the highest score for C, CA, O, and L. Okay, before we move on to the next bullet point, any questions yet so far about PEER? Anything you want to clarify? Okay, so PEER is actually your draft, your plan. Once you have that plan, you've transformed that plan into a paragraph. So this is actually P. This is your E, elaboration. This is because this is your example, starting with for example. And this is your R, you restate. You menegaskan semula what the paragraph is about. Okay. Any questions or can I move on? Any questions so far? Are you okay, people?
Yeah, we
We're
are.
going- Okay, thank you, Azrik. So we're going to have a break later, but we're just going to move on and try to finish these 3 bullet points, okay? So for the question study, we've looked at the first bullet point, the activity you would take up. So we've decided voluntary and at old folks home. Okay, again, if they've asked for a volunteering activity, you have to not be too simplistic. It is the same that goes with the question, your SPM MRSM question tadi. Don't just simply say clean the classroom because that's very basic. Even for this one, don't just simply say what voluntary act you would like to do. Clean my house, clean my classroom. That's something that you already do every day. Voluntary work is something that you step outside of your comfort zone and do something extra, not basic. We want extra, okay? Right. Now, yes, you can say volunteer in a charity fund project. You can say that Zoom user. I don't know who Zoom user is, but that's a good point. You just have to remember that when you are explaining, make sure that it's clear what kind of charity funding for what. It's best if you are more specific. But yes, that's one of the options that you can say, volunteering in a charity fund project. Okay, maybe you want to be more specific, but that's a good point. Good, thank you. Okay, let's go to the next bullet point now. So first bullet point, the question has asked about the activity. Second bullet point, they've asked about reasons. But remember, we've mentioned one reason already in this first bullet point. We've mentioned why we want to work at an old folks home, why we want to volunteer there, because number one, we've mentioned they are understaffed. So that's considered one reason. Now we want to focus on reason number 2. What is the next reason? Okay, so here I have given you some ideas, but I would like to see how you are able to elaborate on these ideas. Okay, so for example, point P1, reason for my choice. Additionally, when I volunteer at an old folks home, I can improve my communication skills. So that's point number 1. Okay, my point number 2, sorry, because this is bullet point number 2. So point number 2, I want to volunteer at an old folks home because I can improve my communication skills. Now, what is the elaboration for this? This is because, okay, I think if I were to ask you to write in the chat box, this may take, in the interest of time, I'm just going to continue, okay? After this, there's another example. The third bullet point, you'll be able to write in full. So that one will be our first quiz. Okay, this one I'm just going to read for you, yeah? So my elaboration would be, this is because I learned to communicate with different people at the old folks home. So this is my elaboration. My example. So because just now I've used for example, right now I want to use for instance. I don't want to repeat the same sentence connector. So for instance, when I talk to staff and residents who are not people of my age, I will need to learn to use different tone and words. Okay, so this would be my example and my elaboration. And then remember, R is just kata penegasan, restating my point. So my point is about improving communication skills. For my restating, I don't want to be repeating the same idea. I talked about skills as well, but I mentioned many new skills. So what's my restate? I mentioned that. All in all, I believe by volunteering at an old folks home, I will feel good about myself when I am able to discover many new skills. So idea masih sama, it's still the same idea about discovering new skills, although this one specifically mentioned communication skills, but your ayat penegasan, you also mentioned skills, but you're more general about it. Okay, so this is my PEER for bullet point number 2. My reason, improving communication skills. I've given elaboration. How can I improve? Because I communicate with different people at the old folks home. And I've given an example. Who are the different people? They are the staff, the old folks, the residents. So when they are not my age, I have to maneuver. I have to modify how I speak. And then I restate again. Why is it so important to volunteer? Because I can improve and discover many new skills. Okay, let's look at an example here. So these are not the full paragraph. Let's look at the full paragraph. Okay, this is the full paragraph. Okay, so from this, we've gotten to this. From the PEER draft, we have managed to come out with one complete paragraph, another paragraph. So tadi the bullet point reason, tadi the bullet point activity that you would take up, I've elaborated that in one paragraph. The second bullet point, reasons for your choice, I have elaborated in the second content paragraph. Again, using PEER. Okay, I'm going to allow a few seconds for you to read. Then I'm going to need a volunteer to help me read, okay? Just hang with me, people. Just bear with me. Just one more slide, then we'll have our break, okay? All right, let's see if there are questions you can read. Okay, see how from planning and drafting, you're able to write properly in a proper sentence, in a proper paragraph. That's why it's so important to draft using PEER. Okay, can I get someone to help me read? I think I want Zoom user. Zoom user, could you help me read Zoom user? Are you
Yes.
okay? Thank you. What's your name?
Dini.
Dini. Dini, could you read for us, Dini?
Okay. Additionally, when I volunteer at an old folks home, I can improve my communication skills. This is because when I communicate with different people, I get the opportunity to practice my communication skills. For instance, talking to the staff and the residents who are not my peers will require me to use different tone and choice of words. Therefore, I believe by volunteering at an old folks home, I will be able to discover many new skills for my self-improvement.
Okay, thank you so much, Dini.
Okay, teacher.
All right, so people, again, let me highlight you. Let me highlight where are the sentence connectors, yeah? So we've got additionally, tambahan pula. This is because, okay? What else? We've got for instance, and then we have therefore. So you see, 4 sentence connectors in one paragraph. Previously, we also had 4 sentence connectors in one paragraph, and they are all different sentence connectors. Okay? And then also, okay, let me just undo. Remember that when you are writing your restate, it's actually just re-emphasizing your point. So P and R, again, they are going to be the same idea, but they are written differently. So P and R, your P and R are related. Okay, so we've looked at 2 PEER examples here. Do you have any questions so far? Because for the next bullet point, the third bullet point, I'm going to ask all of you to write your own PEER. So do we have questions so far? Anything about PEER that you are not clear of? Anything that you want to clarify before we move on to the next slide where you will be writing your PEER, then we're going to take a break. Clear? Okay, Alhamdulillah. So hopefully you're clear. Again, this one is an example or a sample of how you write a 5-paragraph essay. 5-paragraph essay, meaning you have 3 body points. 3 body points, each representing the bullet point. Okay, we've got 3 bullet points, therefore 3 body paragraphs. And hence here we've used 3 PEER. I will show you another example later. If you want to write in 4 paragraphs, how you can combine the bullet points so that you only have 2 PEER. But for now, we've looked at 1 PEER. This is the second PEER. I'm going to say peer. It's easier again. Peer. Now, third one. Let's go to the third one. This is your third bullet point from the question. Okay. where can you usually do the voluntary activities? So again, I'm just going to quickly go back to the question so that we're all on the same page. Again, here, yeah, these are your bullet points. These are the points that you need to elaborate. We've looked at this first bullet point, which has been elaborated in one paragraph using one PEER. And then just now we've looked at second bullet point, reasons for your choice, which also has been elaborated into one paragraph, another PEER. Now we are at number 3, the third bullet point. Where can you usually do the voluntary activities? Okay, let's see. Now, okay. So I would like all of you to write the PEER for me based on this bullet point. Where can you usually do the voluntary activities? So if you can, type in the chat box you don't have to write in full. You can just give bullet points. So for example, point, P would be, I believe, just one sentence. Elaboration, this is because, just one sentence. So I want to see if you are able to extend on this PEER, okay? Before I reveal to you the full paragraph. So your job now is in the chat box. You can just draft first, write in your book what you're going to write, what PEER is it that you are going to write. Then once you are ready, type in the chat box. I will be looking for 2 best PEER from all of you. Okay, I'm going to give you some time, maybe 3 minutes to do this. 3 minutes to come up with, 3 minutes is too long actually. Let's take 2 minutes, okay? 2 minutes, think about how you can elaborate this bullet point. Where can you usually do the voluntary activities? So what's your P, what's your E, what's your E, what's your R? Take 2 minutes. Once you're ready, type in the chat box. I am looking for 2 best responses to give away a mystery gift. Okay. So now it's 1:43 people. We are going to, I hope by 1:45, I will be looking at some responses in the chat box. Or if you want to unmute yourself and speak, that's even better. Okay, but I'll give you time, 2 minutes. Then at 11:45, we'll get back here. Okay, everyone? Yeah, I think I've got 2 responses already in the chat box. That's good. Okay. All right. You can direct message me, yeah, if you don't want to share with everyone. Okay, Kavines, you've got 1. Good. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 more minute. If you would like to unmute yourself, you can do that. You can just raise your hand later and talk about what your P is, and then what's your E, what's your next E example, and what's your R. Okay, I'm going to give everyone 1 more minute. Okay, Kavines, that's a good P. If you can let me know what your E, E, and R would be, that'd be great. Okay, you can direct message me, people, don't worry. Okay, let's try to shift the focus to, because we've chosen volunteering at an old folks home in the beginning, right? So here, the focus is still old folks home. Okay, very good, Fahmi, very good. So that's your point. Okay, very good. What about the elaboration? What about the example? What about the R? So I'll give you guys some time. Yeah, I know you need time. Okay, good. No worries, Farina. Okay, I'm going to touch about that. Yeah, how some of you might still lose marks. Okay, I'll talk about that later. Very good. Okay, Kavines, very good. I think Kavines has been doing his homework, reading my notes. Okay, can I give 1 more minute to everyone? Yeah, I've got a lot of good piece, yeah, a lot of good points from everybody. I would like to see the elaboration and example. Okay, so I'm going to read some of your friends' responses so that everyone can listen and give feedback as well. So here, okay, I'm going to re-emphasize because our points, we have chosen one activity kan tadi. We've chosen volunteering at an old folks home. This is our activity of choice. So when it comes to the third bullet point, where can you do this activity? We want to still maintain the focus on volunteering at an old folks home. Okay, here, if you deviated a bit and you talk about other voluntary activities, like you talk about volunteering at a PPE at a vaccination center, PPE pula, at a vaccination center, or you talk about volunteering at a charity fund, you may lose marks in content. Why? Because they would assume, the examiner would assume that you've given more than one activity. Okay, so whatever you do, you must focus on only one activity, focusing on volunteering at an old folks home. Do not give a different example. All right. Okay, I'm going to read from the P from Damira. Okay, Damira mentioned here. Furthermore, I believe we can volunteer at any old folks home, but I think I would start in my neighborhood area. Very good point, Damira. Okay, so I'm going to give one of the mystery gifts to Damira. Okay, Damira, later you can make sure that I think Miss Emma is here kan? Okay, Miss Emma, I'm going to give one of the prizes to Damira. Okay, let's look at E now. Who's got a good E? Okay, Damira, again. So P and E for Damira. Yeah, this is because it will be, okay, let's see. This is because, where's Damira? I've lost Damira. It will be much convenient for me as I don't have any transportation nor a driving license. So I would just walk to the old folks home. Yes, very good, Damira. Okay, so P and E, I'm going to award the prize to Damira. This is because it will be much convenient for me as I do not have any transportation nor a driving license. So I would just walk to the old folks home. Okay, very good. What about example? Okay, I feel that I should also give the second gift to Zoom user. Is it Dini? Dini, is it you? Was it Dini? Zoom user? I forgot your name, my dear. I'm so sorry. Dina or Dini, Zoom user? The one who read just now? Is it Dina or is it Dini or is it someone else?
Dini.
Dini. Okay, Dini. Very good, Dini. I'm going to just, for the benefit of everyone, I'm going to share again what Dini has written in the chat box. So you can also read on your own as I read for you, okay? All right. So Dini, if you want to read your PEER, Dini.
Sure, teacher.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
For P, I believe volunteer work can be done anywhere, especially in your own committee. For an elaboration, as we know, there are many places that we can be a volunteer in order to give back to community by provide an invaluable services. For example, an old folks home that needs more hands to help them in many terms. For the real estate, hence, volunteer works at an old folks home should be encouraged in our community and generation nowadays, as you can gain wealth of knowledge and experience while serving for our own community.
Wow, very impressive, Dini. Good job. Let's give her a round of applause. Clap, clap, clap. Good job. Okay, so Dini as well as Damira, I've chosen both of you as the recipients of the mystery gift for this round of exercise. So you can contact Miss Asia, yeah? If you check out the chat box, Miss Asia has given her phone number. So you will be able to contact Miss Asia, or you can get in touch with Miss Emma, your teacher, and she will get in touch with Miss Asia. Okay, very good, Dini and Damira. I also want to say thank you to Fahmi, to Kavinesh, to who else? To Farina, who've also Aina, who have also given their 2 cents in the chat box. So thank you very much, people. All right. Okay, good job, everybody. I think most of you have gotten the hang of PEER. I know this may be a bit overwhelming for some, but don't worry. You can go through again and again. Go through the points, go through the notes again. Go together with your friends, go together with your teachers. Then, with practice, you'll be able to understand how you write your draft for part 2. Okay, so like Kavinesh also mentioned here, that you would be volunteering at an old folks home near your house because it's easy to go there, no transport. So that is the elaboration. Okay, so good. Everyone is on the same page, I believe. So that's great. Okay, now are we on to, let me show you. This is the full essay, the full PEER for our 3rd bullet point. Is there a question, anyone? Anyone has a question? You can ask questions, yeah, don't worry. Okay, I'm going to read for you the PEER for the 3rd paragraph, yeah. Furthermore, I believe we can volunteer at any old folks home, but I would start with the one in my neighborhood, kawasan kejiranan, okay? As we know, most students do not have their own transportation, so it is convenient to volunteer at an old folks home near you. Plus, you should start this charitable act within your community first. So this is my PEER for the 3rd bullet point. So altogether, I have 3 content paragraphs, okay? So this is the sample, the final look. From the first bullet point, this one, what is the activity you would like to take up? To the second bullet point, reasons for your choice. And the 3rd bullet point, where can you volunteer? Remember, these is only 3 paragraphs. These are only 3 paragraphs minus the intro and the conclusion. So when you add intro and conclusion, you have 5 paragraphs. All right. But what if you cannot write in 5? You have writer's block. How? Okay, so we take a break dulu lah. Okay, everybody, are you ready for a break? Ready for a break, everybody? Or you want to go on? We take a short break. And what we do as we take the break, as you listen to the soothing piano cover of Cool Kids, you can think about a question and type in the chat box, okay? So you listen to the song, you listen to the piano cover, and you type any questions you have in the chat box. All right, so we'll take about a 2 minutes break. Yeah, everyone? I hope you're able to get some sort of rest, your brain taking a time off from all the listening, because we've been in this session for almost 2 hours already. Is it 2 hours? Yes, we've been in this session for 1.5 hours already. So I hope you're not brain fried or something. If you know, how many of you know that song, Cool Kids from Echo Smith? Have you heard of this song before? I think it's pretty viral on TikTok. This is actually an old song. I mean, it became famous when Miss Asia and I were still in our degree days, but suddenly it somehow resurfaced because of TikTok, So a lot of older songs, yeah, it's an iconic song. A lot of older songs, not to say that we're old, but a lot of older songs, they actually resurfaced after TikTok. And there's a twist being put to the original song, which I think is really cool, right? And Cool Kids is one of the songs. Okay, there were some questions as we were on a break just now, so I'm going to address that. Some of you were wondering why you're always getting 4 marks of the language part, even though you already put in a lot of vocab. Okay, here's the thing, yeah. If you remember, if you go back to the slide about language, you might feel like I've given all the bombastic words and vocab, but why can't I get a 5? The key word here is appropriateness. Okay, if we can just go back to the slide about the CEFR slide, yeah, about language. I'm just going to go there again. Let's see which one. Okay, here, let's go here again. Right. Okay, it's about appropriate choice of words. So you may be using a lot of idioms. You have brought in a lot of proverbs in your essay, but are they really necessary and appropriate? That's the keyword. Okay. And then number 1, is it appropriate? All the bombastic words that you've thrown in. It's not about vomiting bombastic words style. It's about being appropriate. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2, do you have a lot of different sentence structures, meaning you're not just using only simple sentences? That's number 2. But I think number 2, for MRSM students, inshallah, you guys are in good hands. Okay, you are able to come up with different types of sentences. Number 3, is your essay error free? If there are some slips, it's difficult to award a 5. Okay, especially if there are repetitive mistakes. So for example, you've used contraction. Instead of saying I am, you've written I'm. And they are repetitive in every paragraph. So meaning that's no longer a slip, that is an apparent error. So in that case, it's difficult for you to get a 5. All right. I think 4 is already really good for language. 4/5 is 4/5. Like, wow, that's really good already. Okay. But if you really want a 5, I understand. No problem. Try to work on the appropriateness of word choice and look at your errors. Do you make serious errors? Are they apparent? Okay. So that's one of the best tips I can give for you to get a 5 for language. And then there's another question on how many proverbs or idioms that I suggest you guys to include. Here's the thing, yeah. For part 2, you are not required to give idioms or proverbs. I mean, they are not, as you can see here, they are not in the assessment scale. They do not say have 1 idiom, have 1 proverb. No, they are concerned with sentence connectors. If you have idioms and they are appropriate, again, they must be appropriate. They suit the topic. By all means, use them. But you don't have to force yourself to come up with a proverb or an idiom. They are not necessary. You can use them, but they are not necessary. Okay, don't waste your time trying to think of an idiom. Unless you really have all the idioms at the back of your head, you can use 1 or 2. Don't overwhelm your whole essay with too many idioms, because that will impede communication. Okay, all right. So let's see if there are. Yes, people, I apostrophe M kan, I'm like that. That can only be used for email. For part 2, you can write full. I am. Do not. You tak boleh tulis don't. Don't in email boleh. But for part 2, because part 2 is semi-formal / formal. So it's do not. You are. I am. Bukan with the contraction. Bukan with the apostrophe. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you for the questions, people. Now let us move on to the last part of our. So we've looked at how we elaborate the body, how we elaborate the bullet points using PEER. Now we want to look at the intro and conclusion. Okay, but before that, okay, is it here? Okay, writing, introduction, and conclusion. All right. So wait, I just want to check if I have, there's another point that I would like to show to all of you. Is it this one? How you can write in 4 paragraphs. Wait, yeah. Okay, here. I'm going to go here first, yeah. So this is for the interest of those of you who are not able to expand in 5 paragraphs and you are worried about that. Okay, so here, this is an example. In case you are faced with writer's block, this can happen to anyone. It can get to the best of us, even the proficient writers, proficient English speakers and proficient English writers, this can happen to us. So on the day, let's say you're faced with the writer's block, you cannot write 5 paragraphs. You don't think you're able to pull 3 PEER for every bullet point. Do not worry. Here's an alternative. This is also in your notes, which you can refer to later. Let's say you don't know how to write in 5, write in 4 paragraphs. Okay, how do you do that? So paragraph 1, you have the introduction. Paragraph 2, you have your PEER1, but you combine the first bullet point and the second bullet point. So you combine them, making them first and second bullet point only written in 1 paragraph, and they are sharing the same PEER. And then the third bullet point, you use another paragraph and elaborate using PEER. Okay, so meaning you only have 2 PEER lah. Sebab content 1, bullet point 1 and bullet point 2, you have combined into 1 paragraph. And then you have the conclusion. Now, how do you do that? Let's say you've done this, you're still having writer's block. You cannot think of PEER, tak boleh think of E and E. You just cannot do that. No problem. What do? Change it to PER. Instead of PEER, you can write using PER. How? So number 1, you combine both elaboration and example in 1 sentence. So your 1 ayat to 1 sentence, you have both elaboration and example dumped into 1 sentence. That's 1 option, 1 style. Number 2, you can choose either you want to give elaboration or you want to give example. Choose 1 in this PER. You don't have to give both. And if you manage to do this PER well, you are also eligible and you are qualified to get a full mark. Okay? So don't think that, okay, if I were to do PER, nanti markah I kurang. No. If you're able to elaborate well, you still have the chance of getting full marks. PER, boleh. But, because, you are racing against time, a lot of pressure on you during SPM. So if you really cannot go with PER, this is your second alternative, PER. Okay, so how do you do that? Let's look at an example here. This is an example when you are writing in full PER. So here we talk about, let's read this, yeah? Okay, let me just read. Okay, so this is the full PER. Furthermore, I believe we can volunteer at any old folks home, but I would suggest to go with the most convenient option. Point. Elaboration. As we know, most students do not have their own transportation, so it is convenient to volunteer at an old folks home near us. This is my elaboration. My example. For example, we can get in touch with the nearest old folks home to inquire on ways we can volunteer. PEE and my R. Plus, we should start this charitable act within our own community first. So this is when I'm not having writer's block. I am not faced with writer's block. I am able to come up with the full PEER. So good, great for me. But in case when you're pressed against time and all these different pressure during exam, you cannot come up with PEER. These are your 2 other lifelines, your 2 other options, okay? So the first option, E plus E, elaboration and example, you combine, and then your R. How do you do that? Furthermore, I believe we can volunteer at any old folks home, but I would like to start with the one in my neighborhood. For example, we can volunteer at an old folks home in our neighborhood. As we know, so you give example, then you give elaboration. As we know, most students do not have their own transport. So elaboration and example combine into one, okay? Plus, we should start this charitable act within our community first. So this is your first lifeline, combining elaboration and example. Second lifeline, betul-betul mental block ni, cannot think. That's fine. Just come up with either elaboration or example. So your point. Furthermore, I believe we can volunteer at any old folks home, but I would like to start with the one in my neighborhood. See, semua point sama ya. What's different is how you elaborate and extend the idea. So this one, I have chosen to give only elaboration. I cannot think of an example. So I give elaboration here. This is because it is more convenient to volunteer at an old folks home near me, as I do not have my own transport. Okay, no example, no problem. Straight away go to the R. Plus, we should start this charitable act within our own community first. So there you go. You have writer's block. Don't panic. There are two other options that you can go. So let's say the first bullet point, you have no mental block, writer's block. You're okay. You can come up with PEER. And then you come to the second writer's block, second bullet point. Already there's a writer block, perhaps because of time. So you panic. So you cannot think. Don't worry, don't panic. There are two other options that you can choose. So your first bullet point, you use PER. Second bullet point, cannot think already, never mind. PE plus E plus R. Third, memang tak boleh think at all dah. Okay, then PER. Either elaboration or example. Okay, so these are all options for you where you should not be worried about content anymore. Because this acronym, either PEER or PE plus ER or PER, doesn't matter. They are all there to guide you and to avoid writer's block for you. Okay, any question before we move on to intro and conclusion? Do we have any questions? Let me just see if there's a question. I am, yes, I am is counted as 2 words. For email, when you're writing I'm, that's counted as 1. But when you're writing 2 words, I am, you are, do not, 2 words, okay? It doesn't matter if you give example. If let's say you want to go with this option kan, PER, you nak bagi either elaboration or example. I believe elaboration is always slightly better. But if let's say you give example and even in your example too, you're able to give a bit of elaboration, pun dah okay dah. So up to you. Let's say you are stuck, you don't know to give example or elaboration, doesn't matter. As long as you give at least one, at least elaboration or at least one example. All right. Okay, what other questions do you have? Let's see. Okay. So there you go, lifeline for you. All these lifelines, you shouldn't panic. You shouldn't have problem with content. You shouldn't have problem with word limit. You shouldn't have problem with time. So, but what I would advise is as you plan, as you draft everything, be mindful of time. If you have set yourself to plan and draft for 5 minutes, ikut 5 minutes cukup. Because you're not writing in full paragraph. Masa drafting tu, during the planning and the drafting part, you are only giving point forms. P what point form, E what the point form, E what the point form. So you shouldn't spend too long on drafting. All right. Okay, is there other question? It won't affect you, Fahmi. So let's say you are stuck, and you're not able to come up with PEER. So you've given only PER, but your PER macam ni is already good enough. So this, I would consider this one, PER, enough information. So all the needed information has already been given. So you would not be penalized. You would not be penalized and you still stand the chance to get a high marks. Because it is, remember, this is 125 to 150 words only. So if you're able to come up with really good PER and you have met the word limit criteria, 125, you shouldn't worry. Okay, so don't worry if you're using PEER or PER. If you can come up with PEER, yes, that's really good. But of course, this is ideal, kan? This is very ideal. But exam situation is different. You need to be adaptable. Remember, Charles Darwin once said the species that's able to adapt is the species that would be most successful. It's not the most intelligent. It's not the most, I don't remember what's the other one. It's not the most powerful in status, but it's the species that's able to adapt the most. So during the exam, you need to be very adaptable. You're having writer's block, time is ticking, then never mind, move on. You cannot come up with PEER, go to PER because you've got 3 bullet points. If let's say 1 bullet point, you are able to come up with PEER. That's great. The next one, you're no longer able to come up with PEER, so you have switched to PER or P, E plus E, R. Then by all means, go along. Okay, go with the flow because you don't want to waste time. All right, so it will not affect you in any way if you're using PEER or PER. Okay, as long as at the end of the day, it comes back to how well you are able to elaborate your ideas. Okay, this is very ideal, of course, PEER, but if you're faced with writer's block, you adapt these 2 other ways. Okay, right, I believe that's the question. That's all the questions that we have. Now let's go to the intro and conclusion. Okay, I'm going to show you mine tadi. Wait, yeah. Okay, so our intro and conclusion. Oh, we're running out of time, yeah, people. So never mind. Intro and conclusion very quickly. Okay. So intro and conclusion. Some of you may have problems with especially introduction. You would waste a lot of time just thinking about what should I write in my introduction, isn't it? So because you're stuck in introduction, then everything else becomes stuck. You're okay with elaborating content, but suddenly intro you tak tahu nak tulis apa. Like, okay, what do I write in introduction? And then you will go on and on and on without even, going straight to the point. So here's a clue. Introduction, conclusion, they're very straightforward. What do you write in your intro? Okay, let's see. Oops, sorry. Okay, writing intro and conclusion. Okay, let's have a look at this one I've provided. Okay, we go here first, yeah? Okay, introduction. Minimum 3 sentences only. 3 sentences, 3 ayat, yeah? In your introduction. What do you need to have in the 3 sentences? Number 1, hook. Hook is like the hook for your fishing rod to attract readers. So your hook can be a general statement about the topic or a question. You can start your introduction with a question. But if you're not able to come up with a question or a proper question, go straight to general statement, no problem. Number 1, your first sentence is the hook. Number 2 is background information. What's the background information? So hook tadi you bagi general statement about the topic. Then you come to background information, you want to be more specific. So you go about the topic, but it's still a bit more specific compared to the hook. And then number 3 is very important, students. Number 3 is the thesis statement. Thesis statement is when you give the most specific details about what will you talk about in the essay. So here you can start your thesis statement with phrases like, in this essay, I will talk about, or you can say, this essay will discuss. So you become very specific. You go straight to the point. Okay, starting with hook, a general question about topic. Number 2, background information, not too general, a bit more specific statement about the topic. And then number 3, your thesis statement. What will your essay be about? Okay, this is the most important part, the thesis statement. And of course, sentence number 1, the hook, must connect to sentence number 2, background info, and background info must connect to thesis statement, meaning all these 3 sentences must have a smooth flow between them. Okay, let's look at an example, yeah? Okay, so I've given you a different topic to study. This is from Unit 5, Environment. Topic, Teens Saving the Environment. Okay, I'm going to read for you. You have been talking about the environment in class. Your teacher has asked you to write an essay about an activity that you would like to try to help protect the environment. In your essay, you should write about, number 1, the activity you would take up. So students, how many activity here? The activity you would like to take up? How many? How many activity? Let's see. Yes, we need to get a hang of this. Yeah. One. Very good, Kavines. Yes, only one.
Just one.
Correct. So just one, Azrik. Thank you. So activity, only one activity. Reasons for your choice, at least two. Ways to encourage. So you see here, ways. Ada S plural kan? So at least two ways. Again, one activity, at least two reasons, at least two ways. Okay, how do we write an introduction for this question? Okay, I'm going to make it simpler for you this first time. Tell me which one is the hook, which one is the background info, which one is the thesis statement. So is number one the hook, or is number two the hook, or is number three the hook? So what about background info? You can type in the chat box. I'm looking for one winner. So to tell me which is which. Okay, another quiz here. So one more quiz, one winner for this one. Those who can tell me which one is the hook, which one is the background winner, which one is the background winner, background info, which one is the thesis statement. So I'm looking for the quickest and the most accurate answer. Let's see. How have we? And I want answers for all three, yeah? Hook, background info, and thesis statement. So if you've given me only one, you are disqualified. So which one? Okay, let's see. Give me all three. Which one is hook? Which one is background info? Which one is thesis statement? Let's see. Okay, I'm going to choose the answer, the winner now. Only one winner. Okay, I think I've got the winner, Kavines. Congratulations. You are the winner for this one. So please contact Miss Asia. The quickest and the most accurate, yeah? So hook is number 3. All right. So remember, hook is a general statement about the topic, so about environment. Hook is number 3, which is, as humans, we depend on the environment for basic survival resources. This is a hook. Okay, number 3 here, hook. Background info, more specific information about the topic. So this one, definitely. All right, what you've said here. Thus, we have to make it a priority to protect our mother nature by making healthier and more sustainable life choices. This is background info and leading towards the topic of the essay. And most importantly, of course, thesis statement. And they usually start with, in this essay, I am going to talk about, what are you going to talk about? Okay, so this is the thesis statement, and you can take the elaboration or the extension of the thesis statement from the question itself. All right, so this is your hook, number 3, and then your background info is number 1, your thesis statement is number 2, 3, 1, 2. And the winner is Kavines. Very good, Kavines. Oops, alamak. Okay, let me just undo. Right, so this is how your introduction would look like if you are using general statement as hook. As humans, we depend on the environment for basic survival resources. Everything which we feel, breathe, or this is the longer version, yeah, and eat in our life comes from the environment. Thus, we have to make it a priority to protect our mother nature by making healthier and more sustainable lifestyle choices. So this in blue, this is the background info. The one in red is the hook. Okay, and then thesis statement in green. In this essay, I am going to talk about a practice that I would take up to help care for the environment, which is to reduce the use of plastic bags. Okay, so in thesis statement, you can also answer the question. So the question wants to know what is the activity you want to take up. You can mention here in the intro. So 3 sentences, hook, background info, and thesis statement. All right. Any question about introduction? I'm going to show you another example. So Kavines is the winner for this round. Don't worry, we've got one more example of introduction, which is this one. Okay, now the quickest. Where's the hook? Where's the background info? Where's the thesis statement? This one, I am using the question format to start my hook. Okay, I'm looking for one more winner for this one. Tell me where's the hook, where's the background info, where's the thesis statement? I'm sorry that I'm going a little fast here, everyone, because in the interest of time, I hope it's okay for me to take at least 5 minutes extra. I'm going a little at the speed of a bullet train, a little bit. Okay, let's see. Wait. Oh, you guys are really quick. Oh no, wait. Okay, I think Farina has got it. Farina, hook. So is it 231? Let us check. Yeah, is it 231? Very good. Yes, 231. So the hook. This time around, I've used the question format. I want to ask a question. I want to start my essay by asking a question. That's the hook. So do you know that our Earth is on the edge of extinction? So that's a good question. All right. Don't ask with questions like, do you know what environment is? That's not a good question. So like I've mentioned, if you cannot think of a question, just start your essay with a general statement. Okay. If you want to come up with question, ask question that's a bit high, you know, like a bit of a K-but lah, like that. Okay. So do you know that our Earth is on the edge of extinction? Good. So this is the hook, background info. Due to human irresponsible actions, the environment is faced with new threats every day, unless we make it a priority to protect our only home. Usually background info is a bit longer in terms of the length of the sentence. And finally, of course, in your thesis statement, you must mention what your essay will be about. Okay, look at this, yeah? This essay will outline, oopsie, wait. This essay will outline. So previously tadi, you cakap, in this essay, I am talking about, or I will be talking about. Another way of writing thesis statement, you can say, this essay will outline. This essay will discuss. Okay? This essay will outline a practice that I would take up to help care for the environment, which is to reduce the use of plastic bags. Okay? So Farina, I believe, is the winner. Let me just undo this. Okay. So this is how it looks like as an introduction. Okay. Do you know that our Earth is on the edge of extinction? Due to human irresponsible actions, the environment is faced with new threats every day, unless we make it a priority to protect our only home. So hook in red, background info in blue. This essay will outline a practice that I would take up to help care for the environment, which is to reduce the use of plastic bags. So there you go. Thesis statement is specifically you telling the examiner what will this essay be about. Okay. All right. So hook, two ways of writing a hook. Either you begin with a question or you just begin with a general statement like we have seen in the previous slide. Okay, any question or not about writing introduction? Basically, that is all you need to know for introduction. You have 3 sentences minimum, hook, background information, thesis statement. Thesis statement is very important. You can begin your thesis statement with, within this essay, I will talk about, or this essay will outline, or this essay will discuss. So some of the ways you can begin your thesis statement. 3 sentences, and they are all it starts from general statement, more specific statement, most specific statement, introduction. Any questions so far about writing an introduction? No, yeah, 3 sentences. Okay, good. Now we're going to go to conclusion now. Right, conclusion is even simpler than introduction. So if you have 3 sentences in your introduction, it's more than enough to give 2 sentences in your conclusion. Conclusion because you are just wrapping everything up. You don't want to give new examples. You don't want to give new information. It's not needed. You are just summarizing. Okay, so what do you have in your conclusion? So conclusion, only 2 sentences required. Number 1, you summarize your whole essay. How do you summarize? You can begin with the sentence connector. In conclusion, you can use to summarize. You can use to sum up. You can say lastly. Okay, so this is why you want to summarize. And then your second sentence would be, again, you just take any part of the introduction for you to rephrase. What does it say here? It says, choose 1 sentence from the intro. Remember, we have 3 sentences in the intro. Hook, background info, and thesis statement. You can choose one sentence, any of the 3 sentences, and you paraphrase. You buat ayat penegasan. So again, summarize and then your ayat penegasan, the rephrase intro, which you take from any of the introduction, any parts of the introduction. 2 sentences only 2. Okay, let's see an example, yeah. Okay, so this is also, I'm looking for 2, no, not 2. I'm looking for 1 winner now. Okay, listen to my instruction very clearly. These are jumbled up phrases. Okay, jumble up phrases, but you can see the numbers at the top. So what I want you to do, they are jumbled up. Dia tak tersusun. Tell me the order of the, oh my God, no, cannot reveal yet. Sorry. So tell me the order of the sentences so that they make a complete conclusion. Okay, for the first sentence is the summarizing part. I've given you the clue. It begins with number 1 and then number 4. 4 numbers to be filled, and then it ends with 3 and 8. So give me first. I want to look at the first one dulu, ya. The first sentence summarize. What is the correct order of the numbering so that it forms a complete sentence? Okay, read through these jumbled up phrases, then give me the correct number. 1 4 what 3 8. This is for the summarizing part, the first sentence, I'm looking for 1 winner. Let's see. 1 4 7 2 5 6 3 8. Okay, 1 4 7 2. Very good. I've got 3 winners here. Farina, Kavines, and Fatin. Because Farina and Kavines, you've won a prize before. So I think, is it okay if I give it to Fatin? Okay, Farina and Kavines, good job. Both of you got it right. And because you've won 1 round of the quiz just now, one of the quizzes each of you have won, I'm going to give this win to Fatin. Fatin, thank you so much. Please contact Miss Asia. Miss Asia has also given her number. She has shared her number in the chat box. Okay, Fatin? So this round, I'm going to give the win to Fatin. Okay. Now I'm looking for 1 more winner, yeah? Just now, the right number is 1 4. Let's see, what was the number? 1 4 7 2 5 6 3 8. So the 4 blanks, the 4 missing numbers are 7 2 5 6. Okay, 1 4 7 2 5 6 3 8. Okay, and it gives you, we'll look at the complete sentence afterwards, all right? So now let's go on to the second sentence. Just now, this is the first sentence for the conclusion. Second sentence for the conclusion. This is where we want to rephrase the intro. I'm looking for 1 more winner. Okay, these are jumbled up phrases again, because there are only 5 numbers here. I haven't given any clues because they're simple. So give me the right order. 5 jumbled up phrases. Write the correct order so they become 1 complete sentence. I'm looking for 1 winner also. Let's see. Irfan, 1 5 2 3 4. 1 5 2. Is it right? Is it 1 5? Okay, so Irfan, good job. Our Mr. Dua reciter. Okay, Irfan, you're the winner this time around. And Farina, you're very quick. Okay, but Irfan, this time around, you are the winner. Good job, Irfan. So the correct order is 1 5. 1 5. What is it again? 1 5 2 3 4. Everybody, 1 5 2 3 4. Okay, so Fatin for this first sentence in the conclusion, and Irfan in this second sentence for the conclusion. Good job, people. You're very active. Okay, very good. Now let's look at conclusion here. Right, this is the correct answer, yeah? The correct order for both sentences just now for the quiz. Okay, like I've mentioned, only 2 sentences for conclusion. Number 1, you sum up all points. Number 2, you rephrase one part of the introduction. Now let's see how we do that. Okay, the first part, summing up all points. In conclusion, I believe that I am doing Mother Nature a huge favor even by taking the small step of not using plastic bags when shopping. So you summarize because your whole essay is about not using plastic bag. And you say that you are doing Mother Nature a favor. And then you rephrase one part of the intro. What is that one part? Let's see. In order for us to ensure that our environment is safe for the future generation, we must make better choices before it is too late. So this rephrasing part has been taken from the background info of the introduction. Because you see, this is the background info of the introduction, yeah? Due to human irresponsible actions, the environment is faced with new threats every day unless we make it a priority to protect our only home. So background info talks about changing our habits and lifestyle so that we can protect our home. This is intro, this is background info. So I've taken this particular statement and I want to rephrase that in my conclusion. How have I done that? By doing this. The idea is the same, it's about making better choices for future. Okay, same idea. Same idea in the intro, same idea in the conclusion, is only being rephrased. So I've rephrased this into, in order for us to ensure that our environment is safe for the future generation, we must make better choices before it's too late. So the idea about making better choices has been mentioned in the introduction, is also again being mentioned in the conclusion. So that is how you write your introduction and your conclusion, right? Okay, I think we have run out of time, people, but Alhamdulillah, I've managed to cover on introduction, on conclusion, and writing the PEER. I've also included some exercises which you can do with your teachers at school. You can do them as revision. I will provide the answer scheme, inshallah, for all of you. Let's just go through them, yeah? Okay, so this is an exercise for you. Exercise which you can do on your own on a different topic. This is from, this is from the PEER question on volunteering. So we've looked at our PEER, our content paragraphs, but we haven't done the intro and conclusion. So before you look at the full essay, try to come up with your own introduction first. Okay, this is the same topic here about volunteering. Try to come up with a hook, background info, and thesis statement for your introduction. Write on your own, and then come up with the summary, 2 sentences, okay? 1 sentence about summarizing, another sentence about rephrasing any part of the introduction. Again, this is also about volunteering, okay? I've given you a sample here, but try to do on your own first before you read this full essay, okay? So again, when you have finished writing the whole part 2, it will look something like this. Okay, you have the intro, you have the conclusion, and the 3 PEER. Again, this is a sample essay as reference. If you want to write in 4 paragraphs, you can do so. Okay. Right. So we've gone through this with what happens when you go through writer's block. This is another sample, an essay, the same essay about volunteering, but in 4 paragraphs only. So you can compare and contrast when you write in 5 paragraphs, when you write in 4 paragraphs. Both will qualify you for a full score of 20 if you are able to elaborate appropriately and properly. Okay, so these are all notes for you. I've also given some notes on sentence connectors. We've gone through as we discuss our PER and introduction conclusion just now. We've also looked at some sentence connectors. There's a video where you can watch. Okay, I'll let you watch on your own. Powerful sentence connectors. These are also other lists of sentence connectors and their functions. You can refer to them and make use of different sentence connectors. Don't keep on repeating the same sentence connectors in your essay. Okay, this is also very valuable for you in part 3 if you are doing report or article. All right. And then this is another example of exercise for you on sentence connectors, which you can do. This is very simple. You can discuss this in class or with your group mates or study group mates. Okay, and another exercise bonus practice for you to do on your own. So I've got ample revision and exercises for you to do before you face SPM. So inshallah, you're in good hands and not to worry so much. Okay, so if you want to do an activity or you want to do the revision, this is about environment and this is the question. Okay, You can try doing this in the class or with your peers, up to you. Okay, enough exercises to help you understand part 2. Okay, I think we've come to the end of this session, but let's just do a little bit of recap before we end the session. Okay, the 5 steps to answer part 2. Who can tell me the 5 steps? You can unmute yourself. What are the 5 steps? Remember, first you read and underline. So I've given you the first step. What's the other 4 steps? Anyone can tell me? What's the second step? First you read and underline. Second? What's the second one? Hello? Remember? Okay, let's see. Someone is typing in the chat box. What's the second step? Draft your essay. Okay, very good, Azlin. So first, you read and underline. Second, you brainstorm ideas. You muntahkan all the words relevant to the topic. Number 3, you draft using PEER. Okay. Number 4, yes, you point, you draft, you do bullet points. Number 3, draft and do bullet point. Number 4, write your essay in 30 minutes. Okay, write your essay in 30 minutes. But remember, 5 minutes for drafting, 20 minutes for writing, and 5 minutes for checking, which I've come to the last step is you must check your essay. Allocate at least 5 minutes to check the essay at the end. But no matter what you do, within 30 minutes, everything, planning, writing, drafting, semua dalam 30 minit sahaja for part 2. Okay? Now, who can tell me what PEER stand for? You can write in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. What's P? What's E? What's E? What's R? Okay, this is your very good, Adiba. Thank you so much. Point. P is for point. E is for elaboration. E is for example. R is for restate. Very good, Adiba. So this is what you do to guide you. Elaborate your content. All right, PEER. So 3 elements in intro. We've looked at the 3 sentences study. What do you need to have in the introduction? The 3 sentences, what are they? If you can type in the chat box, what are the 3 sentences? Hook. Very good, Aina. You start with hook. Number 2. Hook. Begin with the hook. Okay, thank you, Dini. Hook, background information, and thesis statement. 3 sentences. Now, what about the conclusion? What are the 2 sentences you need to have in conclusion? Summarize and rephrase the intro. Very good, everyone. Thank you. So 2 sentences. First sentence, summarize whole essay. Last sentence, you take one part from the intro and you rephrase. Good job, everyone. So thank you so much. Do you have any question before we end? Okay, these are notes for you. Again, they're actually taken from textbook. Your textbook is actually a great source of reference. So this is from your textbook, page 183. Okay, you can look at them. Yep. Okay. Any questions? Do you have any questions? I think you just go through the notes that I've given you. You can do enough practice based on the notes. If you want to ask any question, you can just get in touch with me, get in touch with Miss Emma. Miss Emma can refer to me, no problem. Okay. And also, please, people, if you check the meeting chat box, we would really appreciate your feedback. Please give your feedback, as we would really benefit from them in helping us improve in the future, okay? Miss Asia has shared the link in the meeting chat box. Please, please, please leave your feedback. Maybe a mystery gift will awaits you as you give the feedback. Who knows? Okay, just leave the feedback, what we can improve on, what you learn, what you find most useful from the session, what you hope to learn more. So anything that will benefit us in the future. All right, so don't forget to leave your feedback. Okay, thank you so much, Farina. Thank you all of you for joining. I know it's a holiday and it takes a lot of effort here for you to get out of that bed and just listen for 2 straight hours. So may Allah bless you. May Allah bless you with good health, with wisdom, with knowledge, and for you to score with flying colors for English, for all of you.
Miss Aimee?
Yes, Miss Asia?
Can I add, before we end, can I add a bit?
Yes, yes, sure, sure.
More? Okay, guys. Miss Amy had already mentioned about the feedback, right? So good news. We are going to give you guys, okay, for those who had written down feedback using the link given, okay, I have decided, okay, to give you guys freebies. Okay, can you see this book? This is Enid Blyton book. All right, so we are going to give you guys this book for free if you can give us positive feedback, all right, or anything that you have learned so far. You don't just give stars, okay? Jangan bagi bintang saja. I want you guys to write down what you had learned so far. Okay, thoroughly if possible, so we can see your writing as well. And then with your effort, we are going to award you guys this book. We have about 20 or 30 books that we give. All right, so what we can do is that we are going to post this book to your teacher, Miss Emma. I've told her already that I have quite a number of winners that that might be our winners. Okay, and we had already winners just now. Okay, I'm going to post all of the prizes to Miss Emma, and Miss Emma will distribute the prizes to you once you get back at school. Okay, so this is like our effort to encourage you guys to read and as well as to get ideas, especially when it comes to writing, because you know, writing equals to reading. The more you read, the more you know, the more you know, the more knowledge we have in terms of ideas, in terms of writing especially. So look at the link above. Okay, so write down anything. In this class with Miss Amy, I have learned ... That one, you know, that will be very much appreciative. And again, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, if you have any kind of social media, so that you can always get connected with us, get fun with us, as well as learn something new when it comes to English. And again, you can also check us out at our website, www.englishpediamalaysia.com.my, if you are interested to join our online class. For those who don't know, or for those who miss the introduction part, Englishpedia Malaysia is actually an online classes that we conduct. We conduct English online classes to students of all ages, just for English. Okay, and also we also have this book. All right, so this book is 12 tenses in English. Will inshallah will definitely will help you to be able to distinguish between different tenses in English, whereby we will show you what are the differences between past tense, present tense, present continuous, past continuous. What are those? Okay, so basically the winners just now will receive this book, but then for those who would like to get this book, we have it on I think, yeah, we have it on Shopee. Okay, this is a very good book, so I would definitely recommend you to study this. Okay, before we go, Miss Amy, I would say thank you from the bottom of our heart, okay, for
Thank
such
you so
a
much for having me.
for such a splendid all the details, thorough details, introduction on part 2, as well as how to write essays for part 2 especially. All right, hopefully every student they have been enlightened. Okay,
I hope so. Yes. Yes.
All right,
I
so
hope it
any
was
last
helpful.
yes, thank you very much. And any last word, Miss Amy, before they go?
Okay, before we go, I remember one question that I forgot to address that specifically requested by Miss Emma. So you might be wondering what's the difference between part 2 and article in part 3. Okay, so here's the difference. Part 3 article, it comes with the format. You must have a format of the title and written by. So that's the format for article, title, written by, and then you write. And here's the thing about part 2 and part 3. The similarities between part 2 and part 3 article is you can actually use the PEER technique to elaborate on article. So if you are comfortable about writing article, in your part 3, you can adopt the PEER acronym to answer article. All right, but they are not the same. Part 2 is not an article. Part 2 is just a guided essay, a guided writing. It has no format. But part 3 article, it has a format. Okay, but the style of writing for part 2 and part 3, they're pretty similar actually. So I can see why you are confused between part 2 and part 3 article. They are similar in terms of writing, but part 2 is a guided writing with no format. But part 3 article, there's a format, a very simple format, title and written by. But when drafting, both essays, both types, you can use the PEER. Okay, so thank you everyone. I hope you've learned a valuable lesson today. Follow Englishpedia, especially on TikTok. I know a lot of you are active on TikTok. They make really fun and cool videos about English learning on TikTok. So do give them a follow, yeah? Thank you, Miss Emma, for inviting us. Thank you so much. So I'll end my class today. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to keep in touch or to contact Miss Emma so that she can contact me. Okay? Right, thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Have a good holiday.
Bye. Assalamualaikum.